got a new jersey just now, literally.
Let's see. Is it you wearing it right now or
Yep.
Sierra? Who plays the Sierra? Sierra Canyon Westbrook.
No.
No? I know that's cool. Come on, why did I know this? I give up.
Well, Westbrook did get knocked out by his dad in the playoffs.
Oh, is it LeBron's kid?
Ding, 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 ding.
As you see, my Jedi powers are far beyond yours.
Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to our podcast, The Gameplan. I'm Micah. That's Kris. And Kris, if you have any information about trades, games, now would be a great time to talk about it.
Yeah, so we got a few updates since our last pod. In the NFL, we did see a couple players go to IR, some notable players after the first week. One of them is former All-Pro player, Richard Sherman of the San Francisco 49ers, dealing with hamstring. He's going to be out at least 3 games. And then another big injury coming from Monday Night Football. The Cowboys star linebacker Vander Esch has a broken bone in his leg. He'll be out approximately 6 to 8 weeks, and the team has placed him on IR as well. The NBA, we saw some great games, which we're going to discuss later. Denver coming back. That was an exciting series to watch. In MLB, we actually saw a couple teams clinch playoff berth. Most notably the Los Angeles Dodgers, and surprising the Chicago White Sox. In the MLS, we just saw the signing of the highest paid player in that league. So Inter Miami signed Gonzalo Rangren. I don't know if I'm saying that name correctly. From Reve. So now he'll be the highest paid player in the MLS history. And we move on to the juicy stuff now. Micah?
Well, off to the NBA. One of the biggest news after the Los Angeles Lakers eliminated the Houston Rockets, Mike D'Antoni, unfortunately said that he will not be returning to the Houston Rockets. What do you see in the future for D'Antoni? Do you think he's going to go for the 76ers coaching position?
I was shocked when I heard this news because he made Houston like this super powerful offensive team. No defense, though.
Yeah.
I tried to put it out there. I did not expect him to say he was not going to return to the Rockets after the season. I don't know what was going on in the clubhouse, or if it was with our management, with the ownership group, something with the players. Like, it's a big surprise when you have an MVP, 2 MVPs on that team. You got Russell Westbrook and James Harden.
And a former MVP, not a former MVP, but former player in Chris Paul that they traded away.
To get Russell,
but would be one of those key factors in prior playoffs when they faced the Golden State Warriors. But I see what you're saying. Continue.
Yeah, well, he's had so much talent there. Like, they've made it to Western Conference Finals in years past. This year, didn't make it that far, losing to the Lakers in the second round. But it's surprising, like, when you know you have a team to make it there. You guys have, like, the firepower. You guys have the juice. You guys have the mentality. And say it's done. I don't think he said anything about retiring, did he?
I don't think he said anything about retiring. I think he said that he was going to go into coaching free agency, which implies that he's still going to stay around. But yeah, with his playing style, I don't know if the 76ers would be a good fit for him, because I know they want to rebuild, and I know they want to center around one player, not a multitude of players. But what do you think about him coaching in the 76ers organization?
It's going to be a change of pace for them
Oh yeah.
because we've seen the Sixers being more of a defensive-minded team,
Hmm.
uh, and you haven't really seen that much of a star power offense. Like the best offensive player was JJ Redick, which is now with the Pelicans.
Hmm. Yes.
So, what other coaching jobs are available right now, or
Um.
may be available?
Well, obviously New York Knicks, but he's already been there and he's kind of failed at being a part of the New York Knicks organization. I want to say I'm not entirely sure, but I think New Orleans. If not,
Yes,
then
Alvin Gentry did. Was I think he was fired.
he was fired or did he retire?
I don't know.
Well, either
Let
way,
me look at.
that's open as well. Not entirely sure if Cleveland's open. I haven't heard too many things about their coaching staff, but
Yes, kind of weird because we've had a season with these losing teams in
yeah.
6 months, so
Hmm.
you can't
So
forget what jobs are open.
yeah, we're kind of just focused on the winners at this point. But I don't know. I don't think personally, I don't think he fits in today's system where it's about ball movement and as well as playing good defense. I think D'Antoni has like that system. Let's just take the example. He had Carmelo with the Knicks, and he also had Kobe when he went with the Lakers. And there was a lot of dispute on who gets the ball and who doesn't. And he does run a lot of isolation ball, which James Harden flourished in, if we can be honest. Like James Harden flourished in that isolation position where he
That's
would
his game.
that is his game, and he would majority of the time get the touches. But I don't think these teams that are developing, a stronger defensive mindset, also playing on both sides, two-way players, and developing those two-way players throughout their system. I don't think Mike D'Antoni kind of fits in those systems. If he were to get into, I want to say New Orleans, the 76ers, or even in Cleveland, if the Cleveland position is open, do you think that those teams would adjust to those systems, or would they try to project onto Mike D'Antoni the importance of the prior systems that they had?
Um, well, if they're gonna bring him on as a coach, they probably want to bring his staff onto that team,
Hmm.
bring his mentality. He's going to coach them that way. They won't use him as a puppet with the analytical people behind the scenes.
Hmm.
They'll use some fresh uh, guy almost. But earlier we were wondering the teams that were open. The Pelicans did fire Alvin Gentry
Okay.
just a couple of weeks ago, and the Cavs. Uh, well, it looks like did fire the coach or John Bellis
Don't know.
resigned back in February, it looked like, and JB Brickstaff took over as a head coach.
Hmm.
Uh, do not know if he was is promoted to a full time or he was just interim. So that coaching job still is available.
Hmm.
So there is plenty of jobs out there for him.
Yeah.
Only time will tell where he's going to play, but I think Cleveland might be a good option for him.
Yeah. Kind of just
I
to
don't know
start fresh.
who's that any star players on that team, but I think they'll probably like his system a lot, as we
Hmm.
know. Or even New Orleans. I think New Orleans would probably be even better because you have a superstar Zion right there
Yeah, but I don't
that
think
you can walk
that's
around.
kind of D'Antoni's system where you kind of get it fed into the paint. I think he kind of wants to create that space outside, but I mean, time will tell on how he adjusts his system to cooperate with different players. But let's move on with probably the most explosive news within the NBA and NBA playoffs. The LA Clippers lost after leading in the 3-1 series to the Denver Nuggets. Um, that hasn't been done before ever, multiple times by one team. Um, Although the Clippers have played amazing games throughout the playoffs, do you even though the Denver Nuggets have played very good games throughout the playoffs and throughout the prior games before that in the seeding process, do you really realistically think that they will be able to beat LeBron, AD, and the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals?
Look, they didn't. No one thought they were going to beat the Clippers with Kawhi and Paul George.
Mm-hmm.
Those two are probably one of the highest defensive teams out there,
Mm-hmm.
and yet the Denver Nuggets were outscoring them. They outscored them for 4 games, so they have a scoring pattern. I always butcher the big man's name.
Jokic.
Jokic.
Mm-hmm.
Jokic, like you watch him play, like he has superb passing skills. Like he could just not even look at you and just boom.
Yeah.
Put it right in your hands.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gonna be surprising, like in the next series, but I won't have any I don't have any doubt that Denver could actually upset the Lakers and go to the thing. As you just said, like no team came back from a 3-1 deficit multiple times in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a stat the other night looking up this. It has been done. Well, it hasn't been done. This is the first time it's ever been done, but it has happened 4 other times, and each time of those, they've lost. And the second time they went into a 3-1 deficit.
Mm-hmm.
So this team is kind of special right now.
Oh yeah.
They're playing basketball. Like they're playing probably the hottest basketball. Even though they've gone down in the series, they don't care about that. They move on to the next game.
Oh yeah.
They push it out of their minds and think they're dead even almost each game. Like it says game 7 for them. So if they keep that mentality against the Lakers, LeBron may not be going back to the finals, and we're going to see a new team coming out of the West.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. The Los Angeles Clippers system has always been kind of iffy for me for the past couple of years. I mean, they've always tried to make runs when they had Lob City with Chris Paul, DeAndre Jordan, and Blake Griffin. A very powerful team, but they really couldn't get it done outside of the court and on the court sometimes. But when it comes to this, they had Paul George, they had Kawhi Leonard. So that's already a good defensive team. I mean, Pat Bev, if you want to consider him and him being first all-team defense, you have him, you have Lou Will. I think Montrezl Harrell is on that team as well at the big man. I mean, that's a pretty big team for a defensive unit. But I think the bench and the first team always have to mesh. And I think after losing that 3-1, I think Kawhi and PG were kind of losing that confidence within their team because we saw, if you haven't seen the stats already, both of them scored under 20 points, and they also scored below 30% that entire game. So I think it has to do with the mindset and people getting on each other. And I think that's the kind of advantage that the Lakers have. Everyone knows their roles. AD knows his role of being between a first and second option, whether LeBron is in or not. And obviously LeBron is going to be the first option whenever he's in, but he always is looking for his teammates. So I think the Clippers in general have to look at, the bigger picture at what are each of our roles. Obviously Kawhi is the superstar, and Paul George should take a back seat, or the other way around, depending on how you look at it. So when it comes to the Lakers, I think they do. I think Denver does have a chance. Maybe it might go game 7. Maybe it might be maybe it might be an even battle all the way. We might not know. I don't know how the Lakers are psychologically going to take out Denver from being in that winning mentality, but they have to find a way. But it's going to be a good series no matter what in a Western Conference Finals. The question that I had specifically for Kawhi, since he kind of blatantly said that he didn't want to join LeBron, do you think he made the right decision to go to the Clippers rather than to the Lakers in order when first coming out of Toronto after winning a championship?
What was that? Sorry, your mic kind of cut in and out for me.
Oh, sorry. Do you think Kawhi made the right decision to not join LeBron in LA and instead go towards the Clippers route and also recruit Paul George in that situation?
Well, do you think that he wants that easy ring? Like, I think he's more of a guy that wants to work for it. And what was that little head shake?
I mean, he played with Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, and Tony Parker. While he was I think second year, and then he moved on to Toronto. So I think Toronto was kind of like that big moment that maybe Kawhi might be a little bit better than LeBron. Maybe he may be, maybe he may be progressing a little bit more towards LeBron's status. But prior to that, he also beat LeBron in the playoffs in 2014, and he was also the MVP. But he also had the backing of Tim Duncan, one of the greatest shooters in Spurs history, Manu Ginobili, and one of the most unselfish players in Tony Parker. I mean, do you think he needs a more complete lineup, or just maybe 1 to 2 players that could probably help him, just like LeBron needs 1 to 2 players to probably help him?
Probably not. I see Kawhi like he wants to be. I don't think he wants to be like a guy behind a superstar. He
Mm-hmm.
wants to have somebody that like almost even playing field with him. I think this was just an off year for them. That Denver was just got hot at the right moment, and they were able to come back from a 3-1 deficit, go on, win 3 games straight.
Mm-hmm.
This LA team, I think, is going to be going to deep runs in the playoffs for the future years.
Oh yeah.
We have 2 really good players. Possibly adding 1 more player would be nice, but they do have Patrick Beverly off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
You can say what you say about him, but he's a great person just to come off the bench with.
Yeah.
He fits in that role perfectly, as we've seen him winning 6th Man of the Year, I think, last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. If not, it
Yes.
was the guy from Milwaukee, but I don't exactly remember.
So yeah, I think it was just an off year for them. Like Denver was just a hotter team right now.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be back next year. They're gonna be dominant again. So it was just one bad series for them.
Yeah.
They've been dominant this whole year without any like extra star player or like a LeBron James X type of player.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about this? Do you think they should add another superstar
I
player?
mean,
Or
it wouldn't hurt, but I think they also need someone to match their defense. I mean, Paul George and um, Kawhi being such defensive talents, I think they also need to have someone that matches their defensive caliber, as well as also can probably shoot the ball more. You can't have PG always shooting from 3 or always taking it to the hole, as well as Kawhi the running across the free throw line or trying to drive to the hole as well. So, I mean, only time will tell. I think one of the more, unserious question is, who do you think is going to make it into the finals, Kris?
Yeah, sorry. I was just thinking right now, like
Yeah.
this.
This year, it's like really
I
unknown.
want to say Denver because
Ooh.
I see them as a harder team right now,
Mm-hmm.
and I can see them upsetting LeBron and the Lakers.
Nice.
In the
Okay.
East,
It's so hard.
yeah, it's a tough team. They're both
Yeah.
great teams.
Both
I was
young too.
watching Game 1 for them, and it was a back and forth to the end, then going to overtime as
Mm-hmm.
well. Boston almost gained a buzzer beater to tie to first or second
Mm-hmm.
overtime, but unfortunately was blocked. So it's almost a coin flip, but I'm going to kind of lean towards Miami.
Ooh, okay.
You have a head coach that has been to finals before, so
Mm-hmm.
he knows this atmosphere.
Yeah,
So you gotta think like as a coaching experience, kind of leaning towards Miami.
I can see that. Yeah, in a perfect world, I would like Boston and the Lakers to make it to the finals, but ideally, I kind of have to go with you on the Denver versus the Denver versus the Miami situation, only because Denver is such on a hot streak, and then I mean Jimmy buckets, man, he does get it. He does get those buckets to go, as you
Yeah,
see, and then Bam Adebayo on the bottom with that block against Jason Tatum. That was something else. That I watched that live, and I could not believe that Jason Tatum did not get that dunk in. But yeah, that was a good game on game 1.
we've already seen the rivalry between Boston and LA.
I
We want
want
to
to
see
see
something
more.
new.
I want
We,
to see more.
we gotta see something new,
All
fresh.
right,
It's
all right,
2020.
okay. All right. Now that we've gone over a lot of the NBA news with the most recent, we kind of want to have this episode go into a different direction within the NCAA. First, we're going to talk about the Pac-12 and their daily coronavirus testing for athletes, and this goes for all schools. So they partnered with the Pac-12 itself, partnered with the Quidel Corporation. Not entirely sure what they do, but The only problem that I see with more daily coronavirus testing is also that of different state regulations, especially in California. How does the individual state regulations of coronavirus affect the partnership between Pac-12 and the Quidel Corporation? Because you can't have those that are still in, that COVID lockdown kind of scenario, playing against outside states such as Washington, Utah, Arizona, and Colorado, and then Oregon as well. I I wouldn't say they are in a COVID lockdown situation.
Hmm.
So I mean, how do you see that going in a partnership? Do you see just Oregon and California playing like in a new re-up of their schedule, or do you see just everything going kind of smooth as possible before something snags?
You know what? I have no idea. This virus has really like shifted so much over the past few months.
Hmm.
Pac-12 partnering with a organization to get more rapid tests going for these student athletes is great and all to bring sports back.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, they've already said that they could postpone the season. It's going to be tough to bring everyone back almost to a mindset of playing like, well, we've seen so many Pac-12 stars already opt out either for the draft or just for precautions for the coronavirus.
Hmm.
It's just a crazy time right now, and having half the states in a high numbers.
More like half the teams, not half the states. Just it's really just
Half
Oregon.
the teams
Yeah.
are in
Mhm.
states. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Flip flop my words. So you got California with let's see, four schools.
4. Yeah.
Arizona with 2.
Hmm.
Oregon with 2.
Hmm. Washington with 2,
Washington with 2. Utah
and Colorado only.
and Colorado.
Hmm.
The first 2 schools, like those states, are really high numbers. We see a drop right now,
Hmm.
but what I've heard is these numbers don't reflect the Labor Day weekend celebrations.
Yeah, that's
Supposed to be coming up within the next week or so.
Hmm.
So we're probably gonna see numbers jump up again due to that weekend being nice in California at least, where the air quality was actually good for that weekend too.
And it was hot.
So it was hot, good air. The fire was kind of dying down at that time.
Hmm.
So people were going to beaches, getting together at barbecues, trying to bring back some normalcy to their lives.
Hmm.
And you just need one with asymptomatic person or just one person that is sick.
Yeah.
Spreads.
And just ruin it for everyone again.
Yeah. It could just spread to that one other person. Like you may have a party of like 20 people at your house,
Hmm.
and you have one person that's kind of sick.
Hmm.
Like maybe one other person gets sick, but that's another person that got sick, and then that person may have let it, and it just keeps going. So it's gonna be weird to have those states, like we've seen Florida teams coming back, but Florida has been that wild person that says, like, "Oh yeah, I'm sick, but I'm still alive, so I'm gonna go out there again."
Yeah, it's funny that you bring that up. I kind of watched the Instagram video, and it was just like it talked about, I think it was it was University of Miami, and it had kids who were on quarantine and lockdown within different houses around the university, but they had parties in them. And to me, I was thinking, what the fuck are you guys doing? You're really just showing your ignorance, and you're really just making it worse. And I understand like people have different opinions about coronavirus. And I mean, you know what? If you do what you say, if you do what people say, and you just deal with it for 14 days or however long, then everything just goes smooth after that. But if you just jump around the rules, then you're just fucking up for everyone else. So I thought that was funny and a little bit irrelevant, but enough of the tangents. The Pac-12 is set to come back competitively on January 1st, 2021. But there have been talks of having a very aggressive return in as early as Thanksgiving weekend or Thanksgiving Day. What do you think the chances are of it coming in early 2020?
None.
Okay.
None. This shit's already been like thrown out there.
Yeah.
We're hearing the Big Ten's trying to move up They've been doing rapidly, like trying to make it an aggressive push, like we're hearing from the Pac-12. Those schools, they're out. Like maybe a couple schools, athletic departments, and the president of that university might say that, okay, we're good enough to play, but not all the schools. I'm 100% sure that's not going to happen until either there's like a vaccine or like they are 100% certain that none of these student athletes will get sick, because we've already seen one student athlete. I don't know if you heard, I can't remember this player. He was tested positive and he was fine. He came back fine, got sick again, ended up passing away due to complications that they couldn't quite know what was going on with the virus with him. They were doing all these tests because he was a star player on this, I want to say it was a D2 school.
Oh, yeah, I haven't heard of him.
So you won't, like, I know some of these schools, like probably the one that we talk about a lot, Stanford.
Yeah.
They probably don't want any of the players getting sick.
Oh, of course not.
Having the liability of one of the players might end up passing away due to this virus, or having serious repercussions to this virus, because we don't know what's going to happen in the respiratory structure. And these athletes, well, need it, like any of these sports that they're playing, whether it's football, volleyball, soccer, the list goes on. They all need like a great set of lungs. So if you mess those lungs up, their career is practically gone.
Yeah.
Or at least shortened by a dramatic amount.
I kind of am. I mean, we talked about the Big Ten and Pac-12. I'm kind of gonna like conjoin these two topics together. Firstly, on both sides, obviously the Big Ten wants to come back early, and they want to come back with only an 8-game system. Obviously, Pac-12 wants to come back, but they want to come back next year. Ideally, just for football, not for the other sports. Do you think that teams or administration in general would want to proceed with the season even after so many opt-outs from each of these teams?
You know what? I was going to talk about this later in the pod about the opt-outs right now.
Yeah.
But
we can still talk about it. I just want to know.
I was going to go on to the list. Like, this list is just getting longer and longer. We just saw last week, I talked about the 2-star defensive players from Oregon opting out. We've seen many stars from Ohio, Michigan. If they come back, the quarterback just opted out.
Oh, God.
Or the starting quarterback just opted out. It was just this morning I saw the news about that. But I think he was going to opt out because of Corona and transfer out of the school, but that's a different story.
Well, that brings us back all the way to one of our earlier pods about the Mississippi coach wanting those players that that conferences postponed the season to transfer. That kind of brings it into a new light as well, and that what these players are thinking as well.
Yeah, and then if these teams do come back, like even if it's just for football, because that's like the biggest sport everyone loves, like even though it might not be the biggest moneymaker and like costs a lot of money for these schools.
Yeah.
People want to see it. Like we know the SEC, that area, big football, that's like part of their religion right there.
Yeah.
Big Ten, it's almost like that for them.
Yeah. Just because of how many championships they kind of have in comparison to the SEC.
So it's part of like that atmosphere, those people, like that's what they live and breathe. Pac-12, it's not as big out here in like college sports for like Pac-12. Like sure, there is places like you see a bunch of people like rooting for Oregon, Stanford, USC, UCLA, all those schools. But because there's so many prestigious major league sports here, let me just go to the list. You got the Dodgers, historic franchise, the Giants, another historic franchise, 49ers right here.
Before they left the Oakland Raiders.
The Raiders, another like high-power Super Bowl team. LA has a few championships. They're another team. We got the Lakers,
Golden
the
State
Warriors.
Yep.
So all these teams just kind of
they kind of like mute. Yeah.
College athletics out here on the West Coast.
Yeah.
Well, on the East Coast, sure, there's a lot of championship teams, but like the two conferences I just named, SEC and Big Ten, very few like professional teams in those states,
Mm-hmm.
and the biggest professional team in that area is your university right
Yeah.
there. I have a good friend of mine was from the Columbus, Ohio area. Everything was Buckeyes. Like
Mm-hmm.
they didn't really pay too much attention to pro sports unless the team is doing great.
Yeah. Especially that in the SEC where Alabama is like that centerfold piece within the state of Alabama.
Is there even a pro team in Alabama?
I don't
And
think so.
you can't say the Crimson Tides.
That's funny. I don't think so, honestly. I mean,
Yeah,
probably like double A or triple A for baseball, but
I know a few of them. Like there's one minor league affiliate in Birmingham,
mhm.
but that's a minor league affiliate team.
It's not even a major or a
Yeah, they don't
actual.
get any TV time.
Yeah.
Uh, Maybe like some local radio broadcast. But
Let's just mark them as development teams at this
yeah,
point.
but then you think of Bama. All the football games are televised.
Hmm.
Basketball, I don't know how
Sometimes.
good Bama is, but it's televised. Like,
Hmm.
and it's televised like statewide, worldwide.
Hmm.
Um,
And especially in Texas too. I mean,
Texas.
high
Look at the
school
high
sports.
schools.
Yeah, high school sports are even more idolized than that of college and
Their stadiums are as nice
as colleges. Just
as
a little less
colleges.
capacity.
Maybe even more capacity in some
Yeah.
schools.
Hmm.
Like, look at the this is a little tangent, but Cowboys owner Jerry Jones, his grandson, like he funded the development of that school. No, they don't develop. They use their practice facility for their high school games,
That's crazy.
and that practice facility is a legit like stadium. Like they have
Hmm.
stands in there like to fit a few thousand people. It's not as big as Jerry's World with AT&T Stadium.
Yeah. Yeah,
Still,
let's just finish it off with one more state, Florida. Of all fucking states, Florida has probably the best fucking football athletes I've ever seen, and it's like treated as a freaking religion there. Fuck the NBA being there, fuck the MLB being there, even fuck the NFL being there. I don't know if they have an NHL team. Do they? Florida?
in Florida, yeah, they do.
Okay, then fuck them too. Because really it's all about development and within football, and it's like literally God family football. That's literally how it is. And it's built up with
In
high
all the
schoolers
areas we just said, like the South, like SEC area, Florida, Texas,
and Alabama.
Alabama, even in like some like Ohio, Michigan,
I mean, Ohio has Cleveland, but I think they're really out of the talks after
like
LeBron left.
outside of like Cleveland, like probably outside of that area,
Hmm.
and outside of Cincinnati, like those two like
Those two big
cities,
NFL
like where they
teams,
actually have like pro sports.
yeah. Hmm.
Like what I just mentioned, my friend from Columbus,
Hmm.
Buckeyes are bigger than any of the pros.
Yeah. And I think that even goes for that goes for every conference. It's like the ACC, they have big basketball teams, and a majority of it is college. And like North Carolina,
ACC, no, yeah, ACC has basketball
ACC,
teams.
yeah, ACC is like majority basketball, very good basketball talent. And I mean, you
I'm
can't
sorry,
tell me
quick random question. Where's Vanderbilt? What conference
Tennessee,
is that?
they're the SEC.
SEC. Okay.
Yeah,
So
they should fall under Big 12 or Big 10, but they fall under
yeah,
SEC.
I thought they were because I know baseball is big in that area
That
too.
is true too. So I mean, like college sports, like college sports,
College baseball too. Just anyone's wondering if they think we're talking about the pros.
like college sports in general is a huge thing, especially at like young development ages. And they look up to the college athletes, and the college athletes look up to the majors, and then like all their parents are still there. I mean, they come into the pros league too, but you can only get so much. It like the pro side is treated such like a business in comparison to college sports, that like everyone like looks up to college sports to kind of be like that little placeholder for their kids to be the talent that they need to be. And wow, we really went on a tangent on this.
Yeah, we did.
Let's rewind back to the Big Ten and Pac-12. Both of them want to get really early starts, but I think the one problem that I have with the Big Ten is one, they they only are going to play 8 games in comparison to the 10-game schedule that originally came out for all 5 conferences. And second, they want to compete for a national championship, which I think is stupid, because at this point you really should just be thinking, I just want to play the games. And since you guys are starting late, you guys shouldn't really be put into the picture for the national championship. What are your thoughts on the Big Ten still wanting to compete for a championship, even though they're starting late or wanting to start late with an 8-game schedule?
Well, if they go undefeated, yeah, go ahead. Like if Ohio, like one of those teams, goes undefeated, wins their conference, why not? They already ranked pretty high before the season even started.
You don't think it's like a disadvantage or unfair in that sense that the SEC, Big 12, and ACC already started playing 2 games before, and then you're only getting 8 games, and like you get more rest than we've had?
That's a good question, but we just saw ACC start last week. Now the SEC is going to start the Saturday.
Oh, I thought they all started at the same time.
No, SEC is starting this weekend.
And then fuck
the
this
reason I knew
point.
that was last weekend because I was looking for the LSU game, and I was trying to look for other SEC games, and I didn't see them. I looked up; it was only the ACC starting this previous weekend. That was September 13th.
Yep. 12th.
September 12th.
Mm-hmm.
So they were the only one starting this previous weekend. This weekend is the SEC. That would be September 20th. 19th?
19th. Mm-hmm.
19th.
Yeah.
I'm thinking NFL.
No, that's fine.
But if they could come back, let's see, when are they trying to come back? The aggressive move?
Pac-12 would be in late November.
No, they won't deserve any national championship. That's way too late. Like they'll play 4 games before season?
The championship was really meant towards Big Ten since they're wanting to come back, and like that's their kind of plan after they announced it yesterday. But firstly, like NCAA, get your shit together and have everyone start at the same time, because I literally thought the only 3 remaining Big 12, ACC, and SEC really started last weekend.
Big Ten normally do start the same week, but this year it's just because of everything. Everyone had to like work on their own schedule because they're only facing in-house divisions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's just kind of weird. And we did see the ACC gain 1 team this year with Notre Dame because Notre Dame was independent, but they said they were still going to play.
Yeah. I mean, everything's so unknown, and I mean, a lot of things are just coming into our lap, and like we kind of just have to accept it, just like everyone else kind of does within the university. But also relating to the Big Ten is an article that I literally saw last weekend after our other pod with Mike. Ohio Attorney General believes Ohio State could sue the Big Ten over postponed football games. They're ready to enact a lawsuit, Ohio State is, against the Big Ten. One of the quotes from the Attorney General is, "I think we have a cause of action for violating contracts between the Big Ten and Ohio State and illegal interference in business relationship." Yost told the Dispatch, which is towards the internet outlet that I found. I think one question, and you probably know this, or you probably have a little bit of sense on this, is this really about letting the teams play or letting them compete for a championship, or is it about the money they are going to receive from Ohio, if Ohio State were to compete for the national championship, or anyone in the Big Ten at all? Like, obviously it is a business outside of the players, and they do have all these contracts, but I can't just sit by and see like these little bombs of like unethical decisions being made just because they want to make money off these kids. What do you think?
They're going to say it's for the players. Like, we see Justin Fields, the star of like Ohio right now.
Mm-hmm.
Ohio State, he's been wanting to play. Is he draft eligible, do you know, after the season?
I think he's a junior. Yeah, so I think so.
So he's probably holding out to see if there's going to be a football, because I won't be surprised if he's going to be one of those opt-outs if football is pushed to a later date.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it's Ohio State that's the one that could be pushing for a sue on the Big Ten. We saw Wisconsin, not Wisconsin. What was the school that was threatening to leave the Big Ten when they first made the announcement to postpone the season? Do you remember?
Michigan?
It was not Michigan.
I'm not entirely
Nebraska.
sure. Oh, Nebraska. Yeah, that's right. They technically
Uh,
are in the SEC. They should be.
yeah, they're technically part of the Big Ten, but I was surprised that they weren't the ones to sue the Big Ten because they were
Mhm.
like, "Hey, we want to play football. Doesn't matter how. Like, we're going to talk to whoever." Like, but Big Ten, I'm surprised that they first off was going to postpone. Pac-12, not surprised because of the harsh conditions out in this
Yeah.
area with
Mhm.
a lot of teams in big hubs, big hotspots for the virus,
Mhm.
and a lot more stuff going down uh, in Oregon right now in that Portland area.
Mhm.
And it could spread to Eugene and wherever Ohio State is. No, Ohio State,
Wait.
Oregon,
Oregon State's in Beaverton,
Beaverton.
which is kind of next to Portland a little bit.
So
I
it's
mean,
just been a crazy ride right now for the
yeah.
Pac-12. Big Ten,
Mhm.
they're pretty much eyeing for the money almost because they
Yeah.
are losing a lot of money.
Mhm.
Great benefit for the players to go out there and play, showcase their skills.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's almost like a money grab for them because they
Oh
see
yeah,
how
for
much
sure.
money they're losing. Don't know if this is actually going to turn up anything.
It really
We're
should.
almost done with September. We're almost to October already.
Yeah. I
So it just kind of being pushed around. So I don't know what's going to happen with
yeah.
that.
I hope nothing legally happens that everything can come together, and I hope like the Big Ten can kind of make all parties happy at the end of the day. But I kind of find it funny that Ohio State wants to take it to that extreme and not obviously Nebraska, who said they were threatening to leave the Big Ten. Um, yeah, a lot of news within the NCAA, but even an interesting thing is Lakers player, I'm not going to say star, Lakers player Jared Dudley calls out Nick Saban for game day remarks regarding Black Lives Matter. I think, who are you? Like, really, Jared Dudley? Like, honestly, you're criticizing one of the best coaches in the SEC, one of the best coaches in NCAA history, who is a friend of Bill Belichick, who has the best system within New England, and you're criticizing him for what he said on camera. And even though you're nitpicking at what he said, I don't have the entire quote. I wish I did. But what he said was he he commemorated all of his players for being those voices outside of football and being those voices outside of University of Alabama, and being those players that spoke up. And even he spoke up. But it's Jared Dudley and also other players nitpicking at what he said and how he said all lives matter, including Black Lives Matter. And it's just like it's ridiculous to see just how much nitpicking you can do on someone else's opinion. And I mean, we should be coming together on this issue instead of trying to divide. I mean, obviously the players aren't going to overstep on Nick Saban because Nick Saban basically has a monopoly on the football team there in Alabama. But I obviously I don't know, Kris, what do you think about the remarks that Jared Dudley had on Nick Saban?
I didn't really pay attention to this. I didn't see this until you brought it up when we were talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of weird. Like Nick Saban, as you just said, like one of the greatest coaches in college, probably one of the greatest coaches in football.
Mm-hmm.
Up there with Vince Lombardi, Bill Belichick, Bill Walsh.
Mm-hmm.
And just for him saying like all lives matter, but it's a thing like I know this whole year like we are trying to focus on the systematic racism that African Americans have been facing
Mm-hmm.
for decades.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and it's becoming into light every single day more and
Yeah.
more.
Mm-hmm.
But Nick Saban is probably the furthest thing. Probably, I don't know. I don't think he's racist.
Oh
Like
no.
I see him as just like football. That's it. It's football or not football.
Yeah.
That's how I see his life. Like, you can play for me. Okay,
Cool.
whatever. There's this one quote. This is totally away from sports, but I saw a Iranian soldier quote about about different religions, which I think it could perfectly apply to just the color of your skin.
Mm-hmm.
The soldier said if my brother's Muslim, like he's talking about his fellow soldier, I'm Muslim. If my brother's Christian, I'm Christian. If my brother is doesn't believe in anything, I don't believe in anything. He said we are one, they're a family unit, and they all share together. Doesn't matter what that person thinks, believes, or anything. You're trusting that guy with your life practically, and nothing can compare to that. Doesn't matter the color of skin, the thing you pray to, you not pray to, whatever you believe in. That's what I see in Nick Saban's case, in sports. He doesn't see anything. He sees all these people as almost like his children almost.
Oh, yeah.
As I think you've seen the documentary between him and Bill Belichick, and them talking about, and they had the kids interview them. Both these guys, they don't care who you are, what your background is.
Just can you play football?
Bill Belichick drafted Aaron Hernandez.
Oh my, yeah.
I had to bring that up, but hey, he sees you as a person, and he thinks he can bring the best out of you.
Yeah.
He doesn't see anything else.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we all should look at, if we're going to bring all this up.
So all the people that he's built and he's shaped into the person they are now, that includes Derrick Henry, Julio Jones, Tua Tagovailoa. They all play in the NFL now, but they're all also using their platforms to stand up for social injustice, and that includes all of the players that he has now. So Jared Dudley, I don't know what you were trying to achieve in this. I don't know if you were trying to just ruin Nick Saban's name and ruin who he is as a person, but I mean, obviously to me it was a failed attempt, but to many others that view social injustice as a disease right now, it may have gotten across to him. But Jared Dudley, I don't think you should be going after people for no clear reason, if it doesn't really affect you in that time, in your position, in your personal position that you are in now, because Nick Saban has done a lot for his athletes and all of the players that have come in and out of the system. Oh, I got heated in that moment. All right.
All good.
Yeah. Kris, let's talk about the NFL draft, and also a lot of stars within the Pac-12 of Big Ten leaving.
Well, yeah, we talked about this a little bit earlier in our podcast before we went with Jared Dudley. As we said, a lot of the schools right now without football are players, big-time players, are opting out. Right now, as of September 14th, 141 players have already opted out for this year. 152 is, I mentioned, the Michigan quarterback. So we've seen a lot of players that have an easily first-round talent. They've talked to probably agents, coaches already. So they know they have a good spot if they miss out for this football season. Let me go to the Big Ten on my list right here. We've seen lost big names, a lot of names just across the whole thing. Just players are thinking football is not here anymore. I don't see a reason to play in the spring, or even if we come back in November. I'd rather train for the NFL draft. In the Big Ten, we have several big names. A lot of them come from Maryland and Michigan State. A lot of these players are. Let me look up one player.
Well, kind of to add, I have two Ohio State players, one a quarterback and another I think is a guard.
Yes, I have them right there.
Shaun Wade and Wyatt Davis. Within the past couple of days, they already opt out. A tackle, Penei Sewell from Oregon. I don't know if you brought him up.
Yeah, we talked about him last time. Oregon has lost 3 players as
Yeah.
of now.
Mm-hmm.
The cornerback Thomas Graham, I brought him up in the previous podcast.
Mm-hmm.
He's a projected first round talent. Was one of the best defensive backs. Was projected for the 2020 college football season.
Mm-hmm.
So him up now is a big takeaway from Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
We also saw, you talk about Penise well. There's another guy that is one of the top offensive linemen, and probably one of the bigger offensive linemen, probably the number one, I want to say. Stanford guy right there. You probably know who he is. Walker Litter.
Doesn't say on this. What list are you looking at, by the way?
I'm on Athlon Sports.
Athlon?
Yeah.
Athlon Sports.
Walker Little was a projected first round talent in the 2020 draft, but I believe he was injured in the season. Correct me if I was wrong about that.
Oh, you're asking the wrong person, honestly.
Geez, you bring up Stanford like in every podcast. And you
Firstly,
don't know.
I don't know players. I just know team systems, okay?
He opted out for a potential spring season because he knows he's a first round talent player, and teams always are looking for first round talent guards or linemen. So he opted out. We got a pair of linemen at USC that are opting out. Almost any of these players which has an ounce for the draft think they're going to be a high talent. They are leaving the school and training. Like, I know a few who I've talked to ages right now talking about this, that if they don't have a first round grade with them, they tell them, hey, stay with the school. Say you don't want to play, but stay in the school. Don't opt out entirely. Because you're training at the facility for free. You have the coaches right there. So we will probably see like players not playing, opting out later on. If this Big Ten thing flies away and disappears, we'll probably see more Big Ten players opting out, as so is Pac-12.
Yeah.
But one player like I had to bring up, which has announced that this is his last season. Clemson quarterback Trevor Lawrence, one of the players that are not opting out for the NFL. Even though Trevor Lawrence did say this, he's going to go to the NFL after the season. He's projected to graduate this December.
I get that degree, baby.
But he's one of those players that wants to play college football. He's went to the Tyler game his first 2 years, when he won already against Alabama, losing last year to LSU. This guy has one loss in his college career. Not bad. So he's one of those players which are still going to is not part of this alarming number of players opting out. What do you think of this guy's career? Like, 2 national championship appearances, 1 championship, no Heisman yet.
Oh yeah.
Where will you put him in college football race?
As of like right now or overall?
Overall.
Oh my God, Kris.
Oh, right now then.
Okay.
What was easier for you?
I think right now it's like he's still out of like the top 10, personally. I mean, the only reason why is because I think Tebow should be in the top 10. I'm waiting for a reaction. I thought you would give me one.
I was like, Tebow. Didn't realize until you said something like, I was waiting for your reaction. Like, oh yeah, Tebow.
Well, first, I didn't know about Trevor Lawrence until I saw him coming to the championship picture. And prior to that, I watched a workout of Tua Tagovailoa, who's the former Alabama quarterback, and also one of the best plays within a national championship and best comebacks by Tua when what was the other? Hurts couldn't get it done
Jalen
in the
Hurts.
first half. Yeah, Jalen Hurts couldn't get it done in the first half. I didn't know anything about Trevor Lawrence. I didn't know what school he went to. I didn't know what position he played. But after watching that game in the Bay Area, the national championship game in the Bay Area, that kind of left his mark on college football. And I mean, it wasn't a sad thing for Tua because he did win a championship the year before, but Trevor Lawrence kind of left his mark by going back-to-back times to the national championship. But I mean, it correct me if I'm wrong, but like every time that like a quarterback comes back to the national championship, like they go to the national championship first and then they come back the next year, they kind of lose. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like, would you say that's a trend?
I'm trying to think of.
I don't think
because
Alabama
not
has
too
ever
often
gone. Go ahead.
I can't think of too many teams that have gone back to back that many times, like Alabama, recently Clemson,
Ohio State, Oregon.
Yeah,
Florida
I can't.
State. Because like
No.
this past decade, like none of those teams have gone back to back, and especially in the last 3 years where Alabama won the first or that year before, and then they went and played Trevor Lawrence, and then Trevor Lawrence won, and then they went to play Joe Burrow and LSU, and then they didn't win. And it's like this past decade, it's kind of hard to place each quarterback within the decade and like higher or lower, but like Trevor Lawrence is kind of up there.
I feel like other than Trevor Lawrence, I can't think of too many quarterbacks. I'm not counting Tua because he was technically not the starter for that season. That started a full season and went to back-to-back national championships.
Yeah, that's true.
Because Tua technically, yeah, he did play in 2 national championships, but Jalen Hurts was the one who started it and got them to that position.
Yeah, that's true.
And Tua just was the one who was the guy who clutched it out at the end and win it for Bama.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, in the sense of just this past 3 years, I mean, all 3 of those quarterbacks have won championship each.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
So let's look into the future for this guy. He's probably a projected number 1 pick, or at least top 3, no doubt, to Lee. Where do you see him in the NFL in 2021?
I don't know. Who do you think is going to lose the most this coming season?
I don't know.
I think it'll be Dallas.
Dallas. Wow. I was going to say Indianapolis.
Ooh. That's a good one too.
Sure, they got Phillip Rivers, but we don't know what to expect of Phillip Rivers.
He only has a 1-year contract as well. The only reason I say Dallas is because hopefully they get it through the thick skulls that Dak Prescott is not the future of Dallas football.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Dak. You kind of ruined me in fantasy last week.
I mean, that's personally me. I mean, Jerry Jones I don't know what he sees in the kid. And I hope they're just waiting and hopefully either trade him or let him go for a top prospect in Trevor Lawrence. I mean, Trevor Lawrence has a clutch gene and he has a good football IQ. It's just, I don't know, it's either Dallas or probably some team in the upper Northeast, maybe someone with a system that rhymes with Hill Belichick.
No, Cam Newton, I think he's going to bring them to a playoff caliber team this year.
Wow. Okay. I like that.
I'm not saying they're going to win the division, but I'm saying that I see them as a wild card team. Like, Bill Belichick is way too good of a coach to look at when Tom Brady tore his ACL. Get that right. He had a backer quarterback, and they were 13-4, barely losing out on the division and the wild card spot. And so Cam Newton, a former MVP of the league, a bona fide starter for the past few years, his entire career practically. I see them going to the playoffs, at least a wild card spot.
I mean, God forbid Trevor Lawrence ends up in a system in New York or in Florida, aside from the Buccaneers or I hope he comes west, personally. I hope he comes west.
I can't think of any West teams that could get him.
I mean, if Derek Carr doesn't show up in the next 2 years, then
I didn't think about the Raiders for a second. Yeah. Well, I think that's all we got for you guys today.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about
I miss this. I
the
miss just both of
NBA.
us, honestly.
Yeah, this is our first podcast back with no guests. So sorry if you guys enjoy the guests, but we will have guests coming very soon. But let's do a quick recap of today's podcast. We talked about the NBA with Mike D'Antoni leaving Houston. We predict, kind of guess where he's going to go. We talked about the Pac-12 and the Big Ten trying to come back. Hopefully, maybe not. Only time will tell. We've talked about Ohio State possibly soon. We talked about the numerous number of players opting out because of football not playing, coronavirus, or just fear of injury, which is normally for college stars. Trevor Lawrence.
Talked about the history within the NBA. Denver beating LAC after being down 3-1 in the series. And we talked about Jared Dudley making stupid remarks to Nick Saban.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys again for watching our pod or listening to our pod. It really means a lot to me and Micah. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Please share with your friends. Send it out there. It's just me and him working on this. He's doing a lot of work, so give him credit. Give him that like.
Hold on.
Or 5 stars.
No. Kris is literally the backbone because I bounce off of him and he bounces off of me. So just because I do a lot of the work doesn't mean I don't need a co-host in this. So thank you, Kris, for being here every single week.
Thank you.
Again, as Kris said, please subscribe, like, and share this video. Go down to the comments. Please share different articles that you want us to talk about because we will talk about them. Sports is very duplicative across all streaming systems and as well as all podcast systems. So we want to see different ideas that you guys come up with, and we are happy to talk about them. Last week, go hit that notification button. You'll get notified whenever we post a new video, and that's twice a week, every week. Kris, do you have anything else to say?
No, just again, like and subscribe. We really appreciate that. We're going to be watching sports this weekend, so we're going to bring up as much updated news on next podcast next week. So thank you guys. See you next week.
See ya.